Today we're taking a look at our new Canon EF to L mount auto lens adapter with a built-in variable ND filter. Hey everyone, Sean here with Fotodiox.com, and today we're taking a look at our new Canon EF to L mount Fusion ND throttle adapter. This is a lens adapter that allows you to mount a Canon EF or EFS lens to your L mount camera with full electronic control of aperture, autofocus, and image stabilization. And it also has a built-in variable ND filter. This filter goes from 2 to 8 stops of ND filtration, and it's great for shooting shallow depth of field video, long exposure photography, and just giving you that extra level of control with your adapted lens. Now, why would you need an auto adapter to adapt a Canon EF or EFS lens to your L mount camera? Well, it's pretty simple. Canon EF and EFS lenses generally do not have manual aperture control. So if you use a dumb adapter, you're kind of stuck with the widest aperture setting, which makes these lenses pretty useless. But with our Fusion adapters, you get full electronic control of the aperture. It's pretty much just like using it with a Canon EF mount camera. And with our Fusion adapters, you also get autofocus. So you can get full autofocus control out of your EF or EFS lens mounted on your L mount camera, which is incredibly useful. And if your Canon lens has built-in image stabilization, this adapter powers that as well. So add that all to built-in variable ND filtration, and you've got a powerhouse package that is great for filmmaking and photography. Okay, let me show you how to use this adapter. All right, we're gonna take our Canon EF 50mm lens here, and we're going to line up the red dot on the lens with the red dot on the adapter, put them together, turn the lens to lock it to the adapter. We're gonna mount it on our Sigma FP here. So we're gonna line up the red dot on the adapter with the red dot on the camera. There we go. Now we have this Canon EF lens mounted on this L mount camera. Now before we turn it on, I'm gonna show you this one function button right here. This button marked FN is a function button that you're really only gonna need if you want to use this lens completely manually. So say you're using an EF lens and you don't want any electronic control. Well, then you'll just hold down this button and turn on the camera, and there will be no electronic control between the camera and lens. But for what I'm showing you today, we want that electronic control, so we're just gonna leave that button alone. Okay, let's turn it on. It's powering up here. And now, as you can see, we have full autofocus functionality. And we also have full aperture control. We can adjust the aperture of the lens by turning this wheel right here. Now, why exactly would you want a variable ND filter built behind your lens? Couldn't you just put it on the front of your lens? And the answer is pretty simple. It just makes shooting a lot more easier. If you're adapting a bunch of different Canon EF lenses, you're gonna have to invest in multiple ND filters, or you're gonna have to get the biggest ND filter that fits on the biggest lens and then use step down rings to get it down to your smallest lens. But with the variable ND filter being built right into the adapter, all you have to do is just put whatever Canon EF or EFS lens you want on the front, and then just turn this ring to control the filtration. And variable ND filters are super useful for filmmakers. Say you're out shooting on location, it's a bright sunny day, and you want shallow depth of field video. Well, you're shooting at 24 frames a second, you have your shutter speed at a 50th, so it has nice smooth motion, and you have your ISO set at 100. So you stop your lens open to say f1.8, like you can get on this 50mm lens here, and suddenly there's way too much light coming through the lens and everything is blown out. Well, with this adapter, all you have to do is crank in the variable ND. That cuts the light coming through the lens, and suddenly you have a usable exposure and you can shoot beautiful cinematic shallow depth of field video. Variable ND filtration is also essential if you're shooting video and you're using a flat picture profile. Often flat picture profiles require a higher ISO, so this is great for cutting light so you're not overexposing your image when shooting in flat picture profile. Now let's say you're more of a photographer. Well, variable ND filters are essential for photography as well. Let's say you're shooting a landscape, you're shooting water, and you want to do a long exposure to add nice smooth motion to your water or your clouds. Well, having a variable ND is really useful in this case because if you're shooting in bright light, even if you have your aperture narrow, your ISO pretty low, but if it's really bright out, having this extra variable ND to cut the light coming through helps you shoot beautiful long exposures like these. This also gets rid of the black X issue. When you put a variable ND filter on the front of a wide angle lens, as you're turning it, you're actually going to see this weird black X pattern. And that's just the nature of a variable ND filter when combined with a wide angle lens. But if you use our EF to L mount Fusion ND throttle adapter and you put the wide angle lens on the front of it, the variable ND filter is behind the wide angle lens and it completely gets rid of the black X effect. So this is great for using wide angle lenses as well. Our Canon EF to L mount Fusion ND throttle adapter does support autofocus with half press. So if you're in photo mode, just half press the camera and the lens will autofocus. And in video mode, it does support half press as well. So if you're filming and you kind of move your camera and you want to focus on something else, you can actually half press while you're recording and the lens will change its focus. Continuous AF does function with this adapter, but the functionality is fairly limited. And also the continuous AF is fairly slow. So it will work if you're setting up your camera and you're standing in front of it talking. I had a couple times where the continuous AF just did not work properly. You can see it was trying to focus on my face, but then it focused even closer and it just kind of stayed there. So use continuous AF with caution. You're gonna wanna keep an eye on it when you do a new setup to make sure that it's working. If you're shooting live video and you want to like quick pan and have it focus close up and focus far away, I do not recommend it. It would be much better for you to be actually riding the focus manually. And autofocus functionality will also be affected by how new the lens is. If you're using an old EF lens with a limited motor functionality, it's not going to work as well as some of the newer EF lenses that have much finer motors in them. This adapter has a built-in tripod foot, and this is great if you're adapting heavier Canon EF lenses and you want to balance them with your L-mount camera. The tripod foot is also removable if you want to just unscrew it if you don't want it in your way. And it's also Arca Swiss compatible, so you can just pop this right onto an Arca Swiss tripod mount. This adapter also has a built-in USB port for updating the firmware in the future. One more thing, if you're a Sigma FP user and you're interested in this little grip that we have on our Sigma FP, this is actually made by Fotodiox.com, and you can learn more about it by clicking the link in the description below. Okay, that's a quick look at our new Canon EF to L mount Fusion ND throttle adapter. If you have any questions about this adapter, comment below. I'd love to help you out. And click the link in the description below to learn more about this adapter and maybe get one for yourself today. Also, click right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos just like this one. I'm Sean with Fotodiox.com, and thanks for watching.